Gwenda Stanley-Morey, woman in behalf of the Aboriginal Tent Embassy. We have been around for 50 years. Our main aim was about land rights and sovereignty. So we pose the question is, what are we going to get out of this constitution? We have a Labor government, and as you can see up on this panel here, there is no diverse conversation with us as the people. Shireen, you have the interests of the constitution and the crown. What about us as the Indigenous people of this country? When as is this government, we have still 50 years still fighting for land rights. You give us native title. We have 30 years of claims that are still sitting under the Land Rights Act as well. When is this government and the Australian government start going to address the Holocaust of the genocide in this country? The reparatory justice and land back. We do not support the Uluru Statement. I was one of those delegates that was threatened. I was also one of those delegates that was locked out of the Constitution Summit meeting. I would like to know what is in this Constitution and how will it benefit us as Aboriginal people in this country? Does anyone else know what they're voting for? Because last time I sat at a Labor rank women's file meeting last year and not one of those Labor members could tell me what was in the Constitution, and you only have the interest of the Crown. Where is the interest of us as Indigenous Australians, First Nation, Gomeroi people, the first impact by colonialism, by pastoral law, while we still have these governments and these Liberal Labor parties still making decisions on our affairs? Does the panel want and invite a voice from all of us, or do you intend to keep continuing locking us out?
Let me put that question. Thank you, Gwenda. I'll put that question to you, Linda.
Look, thank you, and know Maury very well, and know that there's a reconciliation committee out there doing some very good work. But the point you raise is a really important one. The Labor Party, the party that I represent, is the party that has accepted the Uluru Statement in full. But I have been around for a long time, and we've thought about this very carefully. It'll be my job as the Minister for Indigenous Australians to bring people together, to listen to people that disagree with the Uluru Statement, to listen to people that agree, and try and find common ground. That is what's important. It would be absolutely wrong not to listen to everyone's voices. And the thing that I see my role as being is to try and build a consensus. Build a consensus with the community and build a consensus across the party. And as Shireen has said, build a consensus in various sectors within the community, be it the faith community, the business community, the non-government sector, Aboriginal organisation, Aboriginal communities. And in any negotiation, you have to compromise and you have to listen to what everyone's saying. I would like to think, in a direct answer to your question, that if we can change the Australian Constitution, as much like Chris was saying, it will address social justice issues for our people, because there will be a group of elected people that will have a say on the laws that affect Aboriginal people. And I would rather have that advice going to the Parliament than what we have seen and what you've drawn our attention to over a long period of time of failure. So this is an opportunity to get the voices of our people into the Parliament and an opportunity to stop the things that haven't worked and to make changes to not only the Constitution but social justice outcomes as well.
I want to come back to you in just a moment, Gwenda. Can I just put this question to you, Frank? If you go to the Tent Embassy in Canberra, you will see the word sovereignty, and what Gwenda was talking about was sovereignty. But if we go to the Mabo case itself, it stopped at the water's edge, didn't it? Of course, it recognised pre-existing and continuing title, but that fell to the soil, if you like, with British law. But sovereignty, it stopped at the water's edge. Why?
because the judges said we're only judges and we're a court set up under the sovereign, under what we would call the Crown. And they said we're not here to question our own legitimacy. We're the highest court in the land, but we're not able to question the sovereignty which is underlying. And that's why the Tent Embassy is, and has long been, an eloquent poetic expression to the nation about questioning the underlying efficacy of the sovereignty of the nation.
Could Australia ever deal with that in a real sense?
Well, I don't think it can deal with it through the courts. So the question is how we then deal with it as a nation, and as a nation you would normally do that through your founding document. It would be, I suppose, saying to those of you in the Tent Embassy, what would be the preconditions for you coming in under the Australian Constitution? What are the things that you would want to see recognised in terms of self-determination?
But remember that the other aspects of the Uluru Statement is about agreement and treaty making, which is a long, complex problem and goes to the heart, I think, of what's being said. But it's also the national process Linda, of truth-telling.
Yeah, I might just go back to Gwenda. Where does the Uluru Statement fail in your view, and what would you prefer?
Well, first off, the reconciliation was on number 339 of the Royal Commission of Aboriginal Deaths in Custody. We forgot to address the 334 to 338. For 30 years we've been reconciling, 232 years we've been reconciling. Why are we still trying to integrate into a system that systemically oppresses us? We need open dialogues. We need more communication on the grassroots, not hand-picked selective representative bodies that are still controlled and dictated by government. We need to come to the table, come to the Aboriginal Tent Embassy, sit with us, take it back to the people, take it back to the grass people, us that are still living on these concentration camps. You call them communities. They were actually concentration camps in this country. The Holocaust happened here in Australia, and it needs to be addressed. And we do that by coming to an agreement on our terms, not on government terms.
I might just get a comment before we move on. Thank you, Gwenda, to Gail Mabo. Gail, I'm wondering where your father would sit on questions of the voice, because I know that Eddie Mabo had long campaigned for autonomy for Torres Strait. I'm wondering if you're listening to what Gwenda's concerns are, Frank's statements about sovereignty, and even how the Mabo judgment did not resolve questions of sovereignty. Where do you believe your father would sit on the voice?
So for me, I think what Dad was trying to do was, regain his land, make what he wanted to do beneficial for all Australians. Because at that time, you have to think, it was a height of land rights, and so Dad was one of those people who listened to everything about what's happening for land rights, and he knew people who were fighting in different communities, like. He knew the people from Yirrkala who did the bark statement, and he listened to those. He listened to all aspects of peoples, because to be informed and to move forward, you have to listen to all. And it's that thing of you have to learn to sit down and listen, because if you don't listen to everyone, you can't get their messages across, and you can't be selective on who you speak to. You have to talk to everybody, and it is inclusive of all communities, not just the selected few.